Welcome to Coach's Corner Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Coach Tripp. To my right on the screen, there's Billy Pendock, my high school teammate, All-American, went to Syracuse. And below is a four-time All-American wrestler at Syracuse, Olympian member, traveled all over the world. Gene Mills. Gene, thanks for being on the show today, buddy.
My pleasure.
Man, we're going to have a blast. We're going to have so much fun. Let's start out. I wanted to let everybody know you're an Olympic team member, freestyle wrestling, around 118 pounds. You wrestled at probably a few weight classes. You're part of the 1980 boycott game. You have 1,356 wins, only 46 losses, and one tie, I think, in college. Yep. Four-time All-American at Syracuse, two-time NCAA champion, 144-5-1 at Syracuse. Gene, let's start from the beginning. Where'd you grow up? Let everybody know about your mom, dad, and your siblings.
Well, I grew up in Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, tiny little town up in North Jersey. And I didn't start wrestling until I was a freshman in high school. And I had two younger brothers that were in 6th and 7th grade. And I got them into it as soon as I started. And I had a little sister who was 12 years younger. And she went on a scholarship to Rutgers for gymnastics. My brother Dale came to Syracuse on a wrestling scholarship. And my brother Wayne got for the wrestling scholarship at Slippery Rock and ended up going to Montclair State and being the freshman of the year by the NCAA his freshman year.
Holy cow. All four kids went to college and played sports. Well, talk about your mom and dad. When did you, how did they, were they athletes? Were they just involved? Talk about that.
Well, my mom was not an athlete, but my dad was, he played football. He said he was above average. He wrestled and made it to the semifinals of the states. He was 28-0 going into the semifinals of the states, lost by a point, and that guy got the outstanding wrestler in the states for beating him. And then he was on a boxing team. Back then, they had boxing teams in the spring. And so that's what he did. But then he wrestled in the Army. But he never really talked about it. He just, he just got us in sports and was always there to support us. And so we had a very supportive family.
So you didn't start wrestling until your freshman year in high school. How did you get started? Who motivated you? Who was your champion? You know, that guy that that you could look up to, or was it another wrestler? Talk about your rapid ascent in the wrestling.
Well, when I first started, we had two captains that were returning district champs, and I really looked up to those two guys. And then 3 weeks into practice, we had a scrimmage. And I wrestled this kid from another school. The kid was from Nutley, and he beat me senseless. He probably beat me 99-0, if not. It was 6 figures to nothing. He just beat me like a dog. Oh, it was bad. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I want to beat that kid. And I was willing to work. I mean, I wanted to work. I wanted to be able to get 100 points better so I can beat him the following year. And the following year, I was undefeated, and he was in my weight class in a tournament or two, but he never made it to the finals, so I never got to wrestle him again.
Oh my gosh!
Holy cow! He, I idolized that guy my freshman year, and then. After that, I started working with a guy who was a state champ who was quite a bit older than I was, but he started working with me every Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. And I always found a place to go work out. Whether Monday night was like at the Garfield Boys Club, and Tuesday nights I'd go to this guy's house, and we'd go down his basement, and this little puzzle mat he put together, and he just teach me stuff. And then we'd always end the night with a match. And he'd always let me beat him like 30-something with like a minute and a half to go. And then he'd come back and beat me by a point every freaking time. Just to rub it in.
Right.
But I learned a great deal from him. And then I made it a point that after losing 5 matches my freshman year, all by a point or two, I I kind of felt like one of them I might have got screwed, and I wanted to take it out of the officials' hands.
Yes.
My goal was to beat people so bad that if I got screwed, by 2 or 3 points, it wasn't going to make a difference. And so my goal was to beat people by 20 points before I pinned them. And
that's awesome. That's a great story. I remember reading a book about Coach Bryant, Joe Namath, in a national title game or bowl game, took a quarterback sneak through over the goal line. And the referee came in from that conference and said, it's no good, first down Texas the other way on the 6-inch line. And everybody came off and told Coach Bryant that, Joe scored. Joe said, well, if he'd walked in the end zone, there would have been no decision about it. Don't make your fortune be decided by somebody else's decision. And that reminds me, Gene. Billy, you got a question for Gene?
Yeah, quick question while we're at the high school. Gene, you talk about when you went to work out, you started as a freshman and the wrestling part. Now, what was your workouts like in high school as far as, was it weights? Was it calisthenics? Was it just wrestling? What did that entail?
So when I was in high school, my freshman year, I was 4'10", 88 pounds. I looked like a stick figure that swallowed a basketball. I was not very intimidating. I was a lot smaller. I had to wrestle 98 varsity, and I just wrestled. I got on a mat and I would just wrestle with anybody. I'd wrestle with the 98 pounders all the way through the heavyweights. I just loved being on a mat, and I didn't care. I would wrestle any and everybody, and it got to the point where I did get good pretty fast. And I always wanted to work out with our captains because those two guys could still beat me, so it was like something to work for. I wanted to work till I could beat those guys, which
competition.
that they never came in high school because they graduated. But I got there.
Yeah, you got there. Yeah, you always got better, especially when. Go ahead, Billy.
During high school, though, did you hit weights? Did you work out with calisthenics? Did you do any of that up through till you went to college?
So I did a lot of fingertip push-ups. I did a lot of pull-ups, and I actually, my sophomore year, I bought myself a rowing machine, and I just worked on pulling, because wrestling is all pulling. Bench pressing has nothing to do with wrestling. What are you going to do? Get away from me? I wanted to grab a hold of somebody and say, come here, bitch.
Right. Okay.
There's a big difference, So
yeah, that's awesome. That's great stuff. All right. So how did you get to Syracuse, and why did you pick Syracuse to wrestle? Were other schools interested in you?
Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have any of the big schools looking at me at the time because I was a 108 pounder. And my senior year, I actually, at the state tournament, you get a 2-pound weight allowance. And I actually weighed in the weight class below. But one of my best friends was at 101. So the weight was 103 at the States. And, he worked his butt off. He was 31-1. And, I wanted him to wrestle that weight, and I knew I could still win it at 108. And I got to wrestle the guy in the finals who was ranked number 2 in the country, who represented Pennsylvania versus USA, and they have an annual match called the Pittsburgh Classic, where it's Pennsylvania versus USA, and he was the representative for USA, and I got to pin him in the finals, so that was pretty fun. So.
Was that all right? Let's talk about some of your memorable matches. Was that one of them? Syracuse, 4-time All-American, 2-time national champ. Was maybe a champion, a game, or a match leading up to one of those titles that you have? What was a couple memorable matches that you pulled out?
Well, my most memorable matches. I had 2 matches in my career where I was actually losing at the end of the match, and I had to dig deep down to the inside and pull out 150 or 200%. And the only reason I felt like I was able to do that was because I knew I put in that time, and I worked harder than any human I knew. And basically in the finals of the NCAAs, I wrestled actually one of my good buddies now, Joe Gonzalez from Cal State Bakersfield. and he was an Olympian also. He was a World Cup champion also. I was the 5th American in 22 years to ever win the Tbilisi tournament in Russia, and he was the 6th person, I think the 24th year to ever win it. So he's, we had a seesaw battle, and I pulled it out at the end. And
wow, holy cow!
Yeah,
it's funny. It's funny at college. It was a college match. It was a college match, and talk about college. Actually, Billy and I were captains of Liverpool, and Berryhill was the other captain, Mark Berryhill. So I talked to him this week. He was a wrestler, great wrestler in high school, and he went to St. Lawrence. Yeah, he went to St. Lawrence. Yeah, and when they wrestled you guys, St. Lawrence wrestled Syracuse. Berryhill told me on the phone that they drew straws to see who had to wrestle you because they knew whoever it was, you were going to pin him. All right. Do you remember that St. Lawrence? Anything about that St. Lawrence match?
Oh, yes, I do. Yep.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I think the guy lasted to the second round before you pinned him, Gene. One more question Berryhill wanted me to ask you. When he was watching you, and those guys, all the wrestlers there in that area were watching you. You were doing, I think, new moves or maybe even revolutionary moves. It was moves that they didn't see before. Do you know what moves he's talking about, and where did you get them from?
Basically the moves they're talking about is I would do a spiral ride, and I would smash a half Nelson, but I did my half Nelson a lot different than everybody else. And everybody would always say, never throw a half Nelson while the bottom guy is on his hands and knees, because they could reverse you in multiple different ways. There's like 20 ways you could stop it. But I figured out whatever counter they had, I had a counter to their counter. And no matter what I did, they were getting tortured. I mean, they were getting turned, and they were going to get pinned. So
everybody all those counter moves. Yeah.
So everybody knew it was coming, but they couldn't stop it. And that went not only nationally, but internationally also. So the guys that were first, second, third, and fourth in the Olympics, I beat those guys all up and pinned them all with the same thing too.
You did. You beat all the medalists in the 1980 Olympics.
Yeah.
How frustrating was that for the boycott? And I know as an athlete myself, I was really upset that the politics got involved because those athletes, and we'll talk about the 84 and the 88 games as well, but how much did that hurt? How did you get over it? And what do you think about it 40 years later?
It was really hard to digest, knowing that we couldn't go. But in January of 1980, when they announced that we might not be going, our coaches, who I believed in devoutly, said that we don't care what President Carter says. If we have to go to Germany 2 weeks earlier and train there and then go to Moscow from Germany, we'll do that. So don't worry, keep training, and we're going to go. So we did. And then it was at the end of May, and the coach called me and said, listen, we have to go to the White House instead of going to Moscow. I'm like, I'm not going. I am not going. And it took a lot of convincing, but they told me I had to support President Carter. I'm like, no, he's just a stupid peanut farmer. What? He's not. I don't know. I was not very happy because I worked my ass off. I was working 10, 12 hours a day getting ready for it. Right. Ever since my senior year in high school, I literally went to the Montreal Olympics, watched it, and said, oh my God, I want to be there in 4 years. I want to set a record. I want to pin. I want to beat the daylights out of everybody before I pin everybody and be like an international hero. And I was on task to do that.
Right.
Yes, you were.
Right.
Yes,
right.
You were.
Gene,
took it all away.
Yep. Billy,
Gene,
go ahead.
Now, I think you were a senior when I was a freshman. I'm not sure how the times were. And I mean, I remember Gene fondly. And again, I say this every podcast that I learned so much from guys that I've known my whole life, it seems like, that I don't know the background stuff now. But going back to college, Coach Carlin was your wrestling coach, if I'm not mistaken. And what do you remember, about him, either pro, con? I didn't know him that well. I just remember they lost the wrestling program somewhere in that area.
2001, 2001.
Everything is blurry. So, what was Coach Carlin like? What was it like wrestling with guys at Syracuse that were on your team? Were there any football guys that were wrestlers that that showed up in the wrestling room?
Yes. So basically, Coach Carlin, he was like a second dad to every single one of us. He was unbelievable. He did a lot of administrative stuff. He hired a lot of great assistants to show stuff, as far as technique and stuff. And we were phenomenally blessed to get a guy named Hamid Kermanshaw, who was an Iranian world champion that we helped get a visa for. And he was incredible. Wow. And he would let anybody on the team pick his leg up, and you could have his leg up in midair, and he'd say, "Okay, $5 says you no take me down." And I never took him down, and nobody on our team could take him down.
Oh my
and he would bet anybody, and we had some badasses on our team, and nobody could take him down.
Holy
but
cow.
when I got to school, I was a high school state champ. I pinned the guy in the final of the states. I killed everybody at the nationals over the summer, and my closest match was 19-4. And I got to Syracuse, and I don't think I scored a point in the wrestling room my first 3 weeks.
Right.
I got beat up by all these guys that just had experience.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I knew I was better. I felt like I was better than anybody on the team just because of my knowledge. But physically, I looked like I was 12 years old when I came in as a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys beat me down. And then we had our first match at University of Rhode Island. We had a quad. And I remember the one guy asking me what I was doing there. I said, I'm wrestling. He said, "You're wrestling?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I thought you were the water boy." He was the two-time returning New England champ, going for his third. And I had to wrestle him. And he didn't want to say anything after because I beat him senseless before I pinned him. And after that quad, we had 3 matches, and I beat up all 3 guys and pinned them all. It was, I kind of had like a whole new sense of confidence, and then I was able to start beating like a lot of guys, like right after that. But that first 3 weeks was pretty humbling, like not being able to finish anything. And I think once I got that little confidence, and I never was short confidence those first 3 weeks, but I still wasn't scoring. But after that, I'm like, I'm so much better than this, and stop.
Paulie, before we go on, there's one thing I got to add in. I've said this to Gene before, and I said it to you, that we used to have, once in a while a football party, and I remember it was very close, and back then it was football only. Nobody could make the grade. We would never let anybody in, but there was one guy that we would honor and let in our football parties, and he's on the podcast with us right now. He was the baddest. Pound for pound, I wouldn't mess with the guy. He's a badass, and we said, "Welcome to the party." Remember Jamie Kimmel?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Jamie always said, "We're bringing Gene to the party, and nobody's saying nothing."
Was that a good thing or a bad thing, Gene?
No, that was a good thing. So when I was at school, basically I would roll out the wrestling mats, and I would put a $5 bill in Manley Fieldhouse. I'd put it on the corner of the mat and say, and as the football players are going to practice, and I'd say, "Hey, if anybody could stay up your back for 30 seconds, you can have that." They're like, "Well, wait a minute. So we got to put up $5?" No. you can have that. You can stay off your back for 30 seconds. And they're like, well, what do we got to do? I said, you can put me in any position you want, but if you're on your back within 30 seconds, you're not getting that $5. But if you stay off your back, you can have that $5. And I had thousands of guys, like thousands of tries with all these guys and nobody ever got my $5.
Oh my gosh, thousands of times you did it. It doesn't matter whether they were 240 pounds or not.
No, 200, 300, it didn't matter. No.
I would have loved it.
Gene, did you tie up with Jamie at all, Kimmel?
Yeah, I you know what? And I when Jamie was there, he actually would come and work out with our heavyweights. So we would get him and Tim Green to come in and work out with our heavyweights. Those guys were more of workout partners. And so was a guy named John Flannery.
Right.
John Flannery was he was a big man. Gene,
I remember Andy Schwab.
Yeah, so that's why we would have those guys come in to work out with Andy Schwab. So those guys were more workout partners, and they never got into that $5 thing in 30 seconds because I would have lost my $5 against those guys possibly. but all the other guys that thought they had a chance.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was a thought.
Oh man, if anybody ever filmed that'd be priceless to this day, man. But yeah, Timmy Green was a great wrestler, man. High school. Him and Barry Hill were buddies. National Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee in 2000. Congratulations, Gene. Talk about that moment and what that was like.
Well, it was pretty awesome. We were out in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and they told me some things about me that I didn't even know. And
oh wow,
I had set the Division I NCAA pin record in 1981 with 107 pins, and it's never been broken. So it's I don't know, what is it, 45 years later.
Holy cow!
So it might be the longest standing NCAA record. I don't know, but in wrestling it is, but I don't know. In any other sport, there's an NCAA record that hasn't been broken. But I don't know. I like to pin people.
I see that, man. I mean, nobody. When they wrestled you, they were pinned. You didn't go for points. You were a head coach for U.S. wrestling team in 85, 87, 88,
Ellie
91.
Oakley, Wyatt Scruton, Karen Chappell.
Budapest,
You are still in the building. Please return your letter Chromebook to the library. Thank you.
You have traveled all over the world. You have been to, I don't know how many countries, maybe 20, 30 countries at least. Where was your favorite place to wrestle or visit, and where was the worst place to go?
Well, the worst, might have been Romania because our entire team got food poisoning.
Ooh.
They fed us like raw pork, and it was bad.
Wow.
And my favorite place was Hungary. We'd go to like Budapest, Hungary, and at nighttime, the currency was a lot different. So, if you had $200, you were a millionaire. So what I did is I rented this disco boat, and I took the whole U.S. team on this disco boat, and I invited some other teams, female teams, to go on this boat. And basically then I got on the boat and I asked them, how much, for open bar. And then they told me, and they thought that was astronomical. And I was like, here. And then, so basically, I don't know. I just felt like I was Elon Musk for a couple hours, a couple $100. It was like having like 20 grand, back then.
Gene, I want to read some quotes from some guys you may know. Nicest guy off the mat, says Alan Burks. Quote, fantastic coach and clinician, but his humor and great ability to relate to everyone makes learning fun. Jim Husk. How'd you get into coaching? And man, it's the next best thing to being there is coaching, correct? How'd you do that?
Well, I felt like in high school, I put in so much time between my freshman and sophomore year, and we had new coaches every year, but it seemed like I was always the one teaching the technique. Our coaches were really good to get us in shape and good conditioners. But as far as technique, they would always have me do the demonstration. And from that point on, like in high school, I was going around to work out, and people had always asked me to show them how I did what I did, and I became pretty natural at it. And I did go to a camp after my sophomore year in high school. I went to a summer camp, and it was really, really boring. And I said to myself, if I ever get into this, I will never bore a kid like they bored me.
Right.
And I try to make it fun.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you want to make it fun, man. That's why kids quit sports around 7th, 8th, 9th grade, because the coaches don't make it fun, and that's reasons why most kids quit. Billy, you got a question?
Yeah. I mean, I've throughout the years, I've known Gene for a long time, and he's progressed through, and he's taught school. He's doing a lot of stuff now, and I don't know if he's retired or not or what's going on, but I mean, I've heard only positive stuff. I get out to Phoenix once in a while. I go to that gym and right in that shopping center there once in a while. Pin to Win, is it, Gene?
Yeah.
It's a Pin to Win. And
yep.
I talk to some different people now. I want to ask Gene. Gene, you ended up landing at Phoenix High School and taking over the wrestling program, and it was non-existent when you started there, and you taught school there. What was the transformation to take that school from a little small place in the middle of nowhere? And we're talking Phoenix, New York, and turn it into a wrestling mecca now.
Well, when I got there, I think I just had a great rapport with the kids and talked to a lot of kids into wrestling. And at the beginning, when I first started, my first year, I figured, I didn't need that job. I mean, I was doing good, like going around doing motivational speaking all over the country. And so there were a couple of kids I wanted to come out for wrestling. They said they weren't gonna. So I grabbed these two kids at one time by their shirts at the same time. I put them up against the wall, and because they told me they're not going to go out for wrestling, because if they do, they're going to get killed. And I grabbed them by their shirts and jacked them up against the wall. And I said, no, if you don't come out for wrestling, you're going to get killed. Practice starts on Monday. You better be there. And they would almost shit their pants, They were like, oh my God. Okay. And they came out and they became awesome. I think the one guy his senior year was 40-3, and the other guy was like 38-4. I mean,
no way.
Come out for wrestling. Yeah.
Wow, that's a good story, man. That's a coaching story. That's rewarding. There ain't no money. There's no money that could reward you for something like that, Gene.
What you got to understand is, you're being around this area. It's like it's a transformation out there. That's it goes beyond what Gene's saying. I mean, there's so much talk and so much excitement about what he's done. Now, Gene, what did you teach at school there, and are you retired or are you still teaching?
Well, I taught phys ed here for 27 years. I retired in June, and now I stepped down and I'm the assistant coach this year. And one of my kids who wrestled in Pee-wees, like from 6 years old all the way till now, he's 24 years old. Just graduated from Hofstra University, won the EIWAs, the Eastern Intercollegiate Wrestling Championships, to qualify for the NCAAs. And I wanted him to be the new phys ed. I was hoping that he would get the job as being a new phys ed teacher. And I told him he could be the head coach and I'll be his assistant. So awesome. They wanted me to be the head coach and like groom him. I'm like, no, you start. Go ahead. Yeah. He's ready. He's more than ready.
Right.
He's listening to you.
Yep.
You're still active and everything, and that's good. And I got one more question for you. We're moving now. We talk about wrestling, and we talk about. I'm looking at the MMA stuff that's going on now. That was never around when we were younger. Now it's taken off the last
Well, I think wrestling is by far the number one martial art to really help you, because 99% of altercations end up on the ground and fights end up on the ground. I mean, yeah, like you can knock somebody out with a punch or a kick, but high majority of them end up on the ground. And, I mean, if I ever got into it, I always said, I would more than respect the fact that somebody could possibly knock me out. But if they didn't, they're probably going to get choked out.
Right.
Who is when I say these wrestlers' name, what comes to mind? A move, a mode, a attitude. Dan Gable.
Dan Gable was intense. He wore people out, and I mean, he just kept pressure, and he was my Olympic coach.
Wow!
And the one thing about him is he just, he was just so intense that I mean, he brought that intensity to the players, to the wrestlers, and then you wanted to execute it all out there on the mat.
Yeah, enthusiasm. You got to bring enthusiasm and intensity. Yeah, the intensity matters in every sport. John Smith, 2-time gold medalist.
John, I knew him since he was young, and he just had a great single leg shot that was nearly impossible to stop. I mean, he would get everybody to step the way he wanted, and poof, he was lightning fast in on that leg, and he could finish it on anybody. And he was awesome.
Quickness and reflection in reaction are those two major qualities in a wrestler. Quickness.
Oh God, yeah.
Paulie, I got a name for Gene. Gene, back in the day, I used to work out with a guy that you must know. I just want your thoughts on the same thing Paulie asked. A guy by the name of Chris Campbell.
Chris Campbell, yeah, he was my assistant at Mohawk Valley Wrestling Club, and then at Syracuse for quite a while.
Wow.
And I have dinner with him every year. I go out to California, and we get together for dinner. And
well, tell him I said hi. I haven't seen him. Just a class guy.
Yep. And it's funny because when people ask Dan Gable, like they won the NCAAs, I don't know how many times, but he coached there for many, many years. And he said the toughest guy I ever had was Chris Campbell.
He was a beast.
That says a lot. So at the University of Iowa, the toughest guy he ever had, and they had God knows how many NCAA champs. He said Chris Campbell was by far the toughest guy he ever had.
We used to lift together back when I was in the off season, and we used to go. We go rep for rep till one guy passed out. And I mean, he was a monster, man.
It was.
For him to say that's the toughest guy, holy cow. Dave and Mark Schultz. Did you know Dave Schultz and Mark?
Yep. I was roommates with both of them. At a lot of training camps and all over the world. We traveled the world together.
Wow.
We went to Russia. I went to Russia with Dave one year, and then Mark and Dave another year, and then we went to Japan. We went all over Europe together, and we've had a lot of great times. And I still talk to Mark quite a bit.
You're doing good.
Yep.
All right, the lone heavyweight that I remember, Bruce Baumgartner.
So Boo Boo, we named him Boo Boo in high school, and he would come to our house. He would come to my house and work out down my basement with me, and then we'd go to summer tournaments together. Yeah.
Did he really?
I either my dad would take us, or when I got old enough to drive, I was a little bit older and Boo Boo, so I would we'd go to summer tournaments together. And, yeah.
What was Boo Boo like, man? What was he like?
He was just a laid back, mellow guy.
What,
and when
was he
would get on a mat, he would just tear it up. Yeah. And I tried getting him to come to Syracuse, but he wanted to go for agriculture. So we went to Indiana State. Come on, Boo Boo. You know, we need you. You know. But,
oh gosh, a couple more questions, Gene. How is the state of U.S. wrestling today? How is it?
So, USA Wrestling is doing very good. They started a Living the Dream Medal Fund. So the top 3 people in the country, whether if it's a world championship year, like they have 3 years of worlds, and then they have the Olympics, they get $50,000 if they win for help their training expenses, 25 for second, 15 for third. But Olympic year, they get 250,000.
Oh, good.
50,000 and then 25,000, I think.
Great.
So
great.
So the Living the Dream Medal Fund really helps those guys train, and it helps them cycle more. So like when I was wrestling in 1980, like if I wanted to go to 1984, I had to find a full-time job to support myself. You weren't allowed to get paid. There was no such thing as NIL. And so my salary at Syracuse University for a year was $3,720 for the year.
How did you do it, Gene? How did you train all those years? Because you tried out 84, you hurt your shoulder, and then 88, you had knee surgery 1 week before the trials. You overcame so much, man. You could have been a multi-gold medalist. You didn't let it sour you the rest of your life. I mean, talk about those Olympic years going up to 84 and 88.
Well, it just kind of, it made me realize after President Carter boycotted and having my shoulder reconstructed in 84 and having my knee operated on 6 days before the final trials in 88, that maybe it wasn't in the cards for God. And I know during that whole time, I felt like everywhere I went, I felt like I was able to help others and make positive impacts on other people's lives.
Yes.
So I felt like maybe that's what he wanted me to do.
Yes, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. You're exactly right. Okay. You went another direction. It was God's will for you to help others when you're hurting. And I give this advice to any athlete, person, anybody out there. When you're hurting, go help somebody else. Mm-hmm. That's the secret. Man, what a job, huh, Billy? You got a last comment or question for Gene? Wait a minute, Mean Gene, the pinning machine. I got to ask you one last question, Gene. Who gave you that moniker?
Who gave me the what?
Who gave you that moniker, Mean Gene, the pinning machine? Because you got pinning records.
Well, I don't know. I think in high school, I pinned a lot of people, and people would always say that. And then when I went to college, they didn't know it, but it picked up pretty quick because I like pinning people.
Billy?
So there's one thing, like a lot of guys I wrestled, I don't think a lot of guys went out there saying, oh my God, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get pinned, especially like a lot of those world and Olympic champs. Yeah. None of them wanted to get pinned, but a lot of times I'd change their minds and then they wanted to get pinned. So I helped them get pinned and then we became friends.
He just Billy, he just put them out of their misery. That's why he felt sorry for them.
Gene, I tell you, man, it's a blessing and a pleasure to have known you this long, man. And I wish you all the best, and I wish you, whatever you start doing next is going to be a success. And thanks a million for coming on, man.
Yeah, man, unbelievable.
One question I didn't answer for you, Billy. You asked me earlier. Were there any SU football players that came into the wrestling room? Number one, we had Bill Brown. He was a returning varsity starter that came to that played football and wrestled, and then became an athletic director for many years at Jamesville DeWitt. And then we had Mike Rotunda, and Mike Rotunda, not only did he wrestle all 4 years and won the Easterns and became a freestyle All-American, he also went in the WWE and became a world champ. And
Yep.
tag team.
I remember Mike. Yeah.
Yep. And then we had Brian Heffernan, Sergeant Brian Heffernan from the Cleveland Police Department.
Yep.
He was our heavyweight.
Didn't they call him the Dancing Bear?
Yep.
Why'd they call Hef the Dancing Bear?
Well, because a lot of times he'd go out there and he'd just like he wouldn't shoot right away, But then we also had guys that would come in and work out. Like Tim Green would come in and work out with us.
Yeah.
He wasn't part of the team, but he would come and help work out with Andy Schwab and Jamie Kimmel, and then John Flannery.
Yeah, help those guys.
So we did have quite a few guys come in the room.
And all them guys were state champs out of high school. Every one of them.
Yep.
Jamie was the state champ my year, and Timmy was the year after me. So
absolutely.
But Jamie took wrestling above football. He just used football for his scholarship. But I know he liked wrestling more than football.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, all right. One last question, Gene. Who do you think would be a great guest to have on the show here?
That's a good question. I'd have to think about that one.
Yeah, one of your wrestling buddies, one of your wrestling guys, one of your wrestling buddies. Good story.
Yeah,
Thanks.
You know who I think has got a phenomenal personality for this stuff is a UFC Hall of Famer, Clay Guida. He's a great dude, and he does.
Oh yeah, awesome. All right, we'll have him on soon. Gene, thanks, man. What an honor.
What
an honor it is to have on you, a Syracuse legend and a freestyle wrestling legend in the United States. Thanks, Gene. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Gene.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Billy. Thanks, Billy. Bye-bye.
Over and out.
All right, man. That was unbelievable. Thanks, Billy, for being on the show. Gene Mills, 4-time All-American, Olympian and world champion, traveled all over the world and became a great coach. It's one thing to wrestle, one thing to play, but it's also another thing to be an effective coach. But I want to thank them. Thanks for all our great sponsors. The show, of course, is brought to you by Sandy Sansing Chevrolet. All my great sponsors, thank you. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great sports weekend, everybody. So long.
When it comes to buying your next car, truck, or SUV, you need a team that puts you first. Here at the Sandy Sansing dealerships, we're proud to serve Pensacola and the Gulf Coast with the best selection, trusted service, and deals that work for your family. Just like great coaches build great teams, Sandy Sansing builds lasting relationships with every customer who walks through our doors. Because when it comes to finding your next vehicle, there's only one name to remember. Sandy Sansing can.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
75 years of service in high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than a simple painted brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
When it comes to buying your next car, truck, or SUV, you need a team that puts you first. Here at the Sandy Sansing dealerships, we're proud to serve Pensacola and the Gulf Coast with the best selection, trusted service, and deals that work for your family. Just like great coaches build great teams, Sandy Sansing builds lasting relationships with every customer who walks through our doors. Because when it comes to finding your next vehicle, there's only one name to remember. Sandy Sansing can.